can't believe we have 3 pieces of news that will completely change the Commanders' outlook for this season. If you thought the offseason would be quiet after making it to the NFC Championship, you're completely crazy. Because what I'm about to tell you right now will make you understand why Adam Peters and Dan Quinn are working day and night to build something historic in the DMV. The first piece of news will surprise you because it shows a new organizational philosophy. The second will concern you because of its implications for our passing game. And the third will definitely spark debate in our entire Burgundy and Gold community about the future of our star. But do you think this is a coincidence? I tell you, everything is connected. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why Adam Peters is playing chess while other GMs are playing checkers. Let's start with Jeremy Reeves, our special teams ace, who just signed a 1-year extension, keeping him with us until 2026, making him one of the highest paid players at his position in the entire NFL. And when I say this is revolutionary for this organization, it's because for decades we saw this franchise let local talent walk away for pennies. Do you remember the Bruce Allen era, when players like London Fletcher, Fred Smoot, or more recently Ryan Kerrigan had to beg for respect in their own contracts? Now we have Adam Peters, a GM who understands that continuity isn't just a fancy word, it's the difference between being competitive one year and building a dynasty. Reeves arrived here in 2018 as an undrafted free agent from South Alabama who couldn't even stick with Philadelphia. 7 years later, this guy not only is still here, but is a Pro Bowler. First team All-Pro in 2022, and now one of the highest paid specialists in the league. Do you understand what that means for the rest of the organization? Tell you this, when you have players like Reeves seeing that the organization values and rewards them, it creates a culture where other players want to be here. Do you remember when we were the place where careers went to die? Now we're the place where an undrafted kid can become All-Pro and be appropriately rewarded. And do you know why this is more important than many people think? Because special teams were crucial in our run to the NFC Championship. Field position, punt coverage, kick returns, all that adds up throughout a season. Reeves doesn't just make tackles. This guy is a quarterback on the field who communicates adjustments, reads formations, and executes in the key moments. Look at what happened in the playoffs last year. Against Tampa Bay, against Detroit, in those tight games where every possession counted, our special teams were consistent when other units had ups and downs. And a big part of that is thanks to Reeves' leadership in that unit. Now I ask you, how many teams in the NFL can say they have total stability on special teams until 2026? While other teams are constantly rotating players in those positions, we have our anchor secured. That's smart roster building, and Peters understands it perfectly. If that surprises you, wait to hear this that will really concern you and might completely change our offensive strategy for 2025. Noah Brown, the receiver who caught the most important Hail Mary in this franchise's recent history, was carted off during 7-on-7 drills in Wednesday's minicamp. And when I tell you this is potentially devastating, it's because Brown threw his helmet after being helped off the field. A reaction that typically indicates the player knows something is very wrong. Let's be honest about what Noah Brown represented for this offense. Yes, Terry McLaurin is our star, but Brown was that security blanket that Jaden Daniels could find on third down when he needed to move the chains. 35 receptions don't sound like much, but 453 yards with an average of almost 13 yards per catch tells you this guy wasn't catching dink and dunk passes. And that 52-yard touchdown against Chicago? That wasn't just a lucky play. That was a play that required perfect timing, reliable hands under extreme pressure, and the ability to make a catch in traffic. Those skills aren't easily replaced, especially when we're talking about a receiver who had developed specific chemistry with Jaden throughout his entire rookie season. Now let's analyze the real implications of this injury. With McLaurin absent from minicamp due to his holdout, Brown was literally the veteran receiver working with Jaden on these crucial chemistry building drills. Do you understand what that means? It means Jaden is losing vital repetitions with two of his most reliable targets simultaneously. I believe the pressure on our receiving core just increased exponentially, and I'm not sure we have the depth needed to absorb this loss. Yes, we brought in Deebo Samuel, and that's huge. Yes, Michael Gallup has experience and had over 1,000 yards in Dallas a few years ago. But you know what's the difference? Brown knew perfectly every route in Cliff Kingsbury's playbook. He knew exactly where to be when Jaden scrambled. Out of the pocket. He had that chemistry developed through a full season of game speed situations. That's not replaced with talent alone, it's replaced with time, and time is exactly what we don't have before training camp. And you know what's most concerning about all this? That this injury happened in 7-on-7 drills. We're not talking about contact drills. We're not talking about full speed hitting. When a receiver gets injured in non-contact drills and reacts by throwing his helmet, that usually means ligament damage, and ligament damage means significant time off the field. If Brown is going to miss 6 to 8 weeks, it's not just the start of the regular season that we're worried about. It's the entire training camp. It's preseason games where he should be building more chemistry with Jaden. It's all those repetitions that will now have to go to receivers who don't know the system as well. Now I ask you, are you prepared for a season where we depend even more on McLaurin's health and Samuel's quick integration? Because if something happens to Terry during the season and Brown isn't available, suddenly our receiving core looks very different from what we expected. But that's nothing compared to what's coming, because here's the news that really has our entire fan base divided and will determine whether we're legitimate contenders or pretenders who had a lucky year. Terry McLaurin has yet to show up at minicamp because he continues his holdout waiting for a contract extension that will pay him like the top-tier receiver he has become. And I have very strong opinions about this that will surprise some of you. First, let's put this in historical perspective. Terry McLaurin has been the only elite constant in this franchise for the past 5 years. While we've had quarterbacks like Dwayne Haskins, Taylor Heineke, Carson Wentz, and Sam Howell throwing them passes, this guy has never had less than 1,000 yards in a season. Do you understand how incredibly impressive that is? 82 receptions last year, 1,305 yards, and 13 touchdowns. But those numbers don't tell the whole story. McLaurin was the receiver Jaden Daniels looked for when the pocket collapsed. He was the automatic target in the red zone when we needed 6 points. He was the security that allowed Jaden to confidently throw deep balls in critical situations. And you know what context many people are ignoring? McLaurin signed his current contract in 2021 when this organization was a disaster and he had no leverage. 4 years, $70 million with 58 guaranteed. At that time, it seemed like a lot of money, but now look at what comparable receivers are getting in the market. DK Metcalf, 3 years, $72 million. AJ Brown, 3 years, $57 million. Devontae Adams when he was traded, 5 years. $140 million. And I ask you, is there any significant difference between the production of these guys and what McLaurin has done with inferior quarterbacks over the past years? I say this, McLaurin not only deserves top receiver money, he deserves respect for being loyal to this organization during the darkest years of its recent history. While other receivers were traded or signed elsewhere when they had the opportunity, Terry stayed here and elevated his game every single year. But do you know what bothers me more than anything? That some fans are panicking unnecessarily, acting as if McLaurin were a diva holding out for greed. This guy has never caused drama, never criticized coaches or management publicly. Never asked for a trade, even when he had every reason to want out of here. The difference between this holdout and others we've seen in the past is professional respect. McLaurin isn't posting cryptic messages on social media. He's not letting his agent talk trash in the press. He's not creating unnecessary drama during a time when the organization is trying to build something special. And you know why I'm sure this will be resolved favorably? Because Adam Peters isn't Bruce Allen. Peters understands that you don't let elite talent walk away over money when you're in a championship window. Dan Quinn coached receivers like Julio Jones in Atlanta. He knows exactly what a true number one receiver brings to an offense. More importantly, McLaurin knows this is the best situation of his career. Jaden Daniels isn't just another quarterback. This kid showed flashes of being special from day one. The chemistry they developed during the second half of the season was something magical that builds over years, not months. Now we have Deebo Samuel on the other side to take pressure off. McLaurin, We have Cliff Kingsbury running an offense that maximizes receiver talents. We have an offensive line that improved significantly with Josh Connolly being drafted. This is the best situation McLaurin has ever had to put up career numbers. But here's what really excites me about this situation. McLaurin holding out now in June shows that he wants to be here long term. If he wanted out, he would have asked for a trade months ago. If he didn't believe in the direction of this organization, he would have taken any offer just to get guaranteed money before hitting free agency. The fact that he's negotiating means he sees the same potential that we see. It means he wants to be part of what could be the most successful era in Commanders history in decades. It means that when he comes back, he's going to be motivated to prove that every dollar in his new contract was worth it. But do you know the real connection between these three news pieces that many people are missing? It's all about Adam Peters building a culture of accountability, loyalty, and excellence that this organization hasn't seen since the days of Joto. Gibbs.Peters is rewarding loyalty with Reeves, showing that if you perform and contribute to winning, you will be compensated appropriately. He's managing adversity with the Brown injury in a way that shows depth planning and contingency thinking, and he's negotiating in good faith with McLaurin because he understands that elite players deserve elite compensation when they've earned it. While Jerry Jones in Dallas is creating a media circus every week with contract drama, while Philadelphia is dealing with internal controversies between players and coaching staff, while the New York Giants continue being irrelevant with poor roster construction, we have an organization that is finally doing things the right way. The Reeves extension tells every young player in this organization that hard work and consistency will be rewarded. The way they're handling Brown's injury shows that player health comes first, even during non-mandatory workouts. And the McLaurin negotiation demonstrates that this franchise values homegrown talent and wants to build around players who have bled Burgundy and Gold. That's Burgundy and Gold, baby. This is what championship organizations look like during the building process. Not perfect, not without challenges, but with a clear vision and commitment to doing right by the people who make success possible. Now, let me break down exactly what all these situations mean for our upcoming season, because every single one of these decisions impacts our Super Bowl aspirations. With Reeves locked up, we have special team stability that allows Dan Quinn to focus on other areas during training camp. No distractions, no contract negotiations during the season, just pure focus on execution when games matter most. The Brown injury forces us to accelerate the integration of Deebo Samuel and push receivers like Dyami Brown or Jamison Crowder into larger roles earlier than expected. That's not necessarily bad. Sometimes injuries create opportunities for players to step up. But it definitely changes our offensive planning, and McLaurin's holdout, if resolved before training camp as expected, could actually motivate him to have an even better season. Nothing drives elite players more than getting paid what they believe they deserve and then having to prove it was worth every penny. Do you think all of this is a coincidence or strategic positioning for a championship run? Because I believe Peters is orchestrating something special, and these three situations are just pieces of a larger puzzle. I tell you this, these decisions will define if we're truly ready to compete for a Super Bowl or if we're still that team that overachieved 1 year but can sustain success. Because one thing is reaching the NFC Championship with a surprise factor, and another completely different thing is doing it when everyone knows you're dangerous. What do you think about Peters prioritizing loyalty with the Reeves extension? Are you worried about our receiver depth with Brown potentially missing significant time? And how would you handle the McLaurin situation if you were the GM? Because I need to know if you understand what is really happening here in the DMV. If you agree with me that Peters is building something special with these moves, smash that like button. If you think we should be more concerned about any of these situations, drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're part of this Burgundy and Gold family that's growing every single day, hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow we'll have more exclusive analysis you won't find anywhere else. This community is becoming the strongest Commanders voice on YouTube, and I need you to be part of this family that lives and breathes Burgundy and Gold every single day of the year. Because when September arrives, when we're back at FedEx Field, when Jaden is throwing touchdowns to McLaurin and Samuel, You'll remember that here is where we analyzed every single move that led us back to glory. And remember, hail to the Redskins!